As a small business owner, have you ever felt overwhelmed by the pressure of choosing the right hire or leading a team? Or have you ever found yourself tolerating a bad hire because you fear trying and failing again as you repeat the hiring process? If so, you're not alone, and you are in the right place. Welcome to the Growing Your Team podcast. The Growing Your Team podcast teaches business owners like you to expand your unique business by teaching you to master the hiring and team management process. Hiring and managing a team does not have to be a challenge. You just have to learn to do it right. And the Growing Your Team podcast teaches you how to become a confident leader who hires right every single time. Now, let's jump into the show where each episode you will learn tips on how to identify what type of help you need on your team, how to source amazing candidates, how to conduct interviews that lead you to your ideal team member, how to onboard successfully, and how to lead every person in your business so you have a team of rock stars who you are happy to pay every single paycheck. So let's jump in and teach you how to hire like a pro. Hello, Jamie Van Kuyk here, and welcome back to the Growing Your Team podcast. Today, I have on guest Grace Zeigler. Grace is an executive HR leader with over a decade of experience and the founder of Zeigler Consulting, which supports small businesses in the architecture, engineering, and manufacturing space with the right-sized HR solutions. Grace has worked in industries ranging from food distribution to consumer software, and most recently has worked with architecture firms and building engineers. Today, she continues to support business leaders who need strategic support to deliver an excellent employee experience at the right scale for their organization. She is a firm believer that work shouldn't suck for owners or employees and is excited about positively impacting the lives of the clients she works with. Today, Grace and I are talking about one of our favorite parts of the hiring process, and that is onboarding. Yes, onboarding is such an essential part of the hiring process, but one that many businesses overlook, and doing so can often result in turnover and just not being satisfied with your team. So in this conversation, we're talking about why onboarding is important, how you can improve your onboarding plan, and really creating an environment that will make team members feel welcomed and supported inside your organization so it becomes a place where they enjoy working for years to come. So let's jump into the conversation. Hi, Grace. Thank you so much for joining us today on the Growing Your Team podcast.
I'm super glad to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yes. All right. Before we get into today's conversation, can you kick us off with telling everybody a little bit about yourself and what you do?
Absolutely. Super glad to be here. My name, once again, is Grace Zeigler. I have been a HR leader and executive for 10 years, and I recently started my own solo entrepreneurship, Zeigler Consulting, helping small to mid-size architecture, engineering, and manufacturing firms do right-size HR for the people that really make and do great work all across certainly Chicago and the nation. And I also work full-time as an executive in HR. So excited to be here and to talk about one of my favorite topics, onboarding and recruiting. How do you find the right people and put them in the right spot?
Yes. Yeah. I love, that you mentioned onboarding and your favorite topic and everything it ties to recruiting. I know we had a conversation before, we talked a lot about this, and I really think onboarding is the forgotten phase of recruiting. It's like, I found my person, now they need to get to work and they need to do great things. And it's like, but what are you going to do to help them do great things? And people are like, but they should just know because I'm hiring them because they've done great things in the past. And it's like, okay, guess
Uh-huh.
what? You're probably going to be highly disappointed then if you're not going to put time into onboarding. So I love
Absolutely.
this and I cannot wait to jump more into this conversation. But before we do that, question I have for you, why do you like and enjoy the onboarding phase so much and talking about it?
Oh my gosh. Onboarding is that moment. A lot like when you buy, say, a new car or a new phone or a new whatever, and you finally get it and you've been dreaming about it. You've been thinking about it. You've put all of this emotional energy in it and you start using it. And you have that 1 second of like, man, this is everything I thought. Man, am I disappointed I spent this money, energy, effort, and time daydreaming about it. A company has a chance to share who they are, why you said yes, to reconfirm that this is the place for me to grow for however long I'm at it and to make a huge impact. And it sets the table for every other interaction you're going to have with that person. Because to be frank, it's really hard to make a second first impression. It's a lot more work for folks. It's really difficult to reinvigorate that excitement again if you kind of let it fade without really minding it and nurturing that flame. And also, you're never going to have somebody more excited to be there than at the moment of day one. Like, there is never a
Right?
time in their whole career, no matter how many times you promote them, doesn't even matter if they move to a C-suite position after decades or really quickly, they will never be more excited about your organization than in that first 96 months to a year. Why would
Yes.
you waste that opportunity to help them be the ambassador for the person that might be coming in after them and to reinvigorate the people that are there right now that may have been a little bit disillusioned about the way things have changed, the way things are moving? They're your shining light as a new employee. You should mind them all the way through that process.
Yes. Oh gosh, she said so many great things in there, but like one of the things he said, like they're excited. They're excited to be there. And just imagine that feeling. You show up someplace and you're so excited. And then an hour into it, you're like, wait, did they even know I was coming today? Like they don't
Is
have a
there a
computer with me?
desk?
Like where am I supposed to sit? Like all this stuff. Like I know like that happened to me before, like starting new at a company and being like, wait, are they even ready for me? And this was a large organization. And part of the reason they weren't ready was because their IT department was behind on setting up everything. And I'm just like, oh, okay. And like sometimes I have to talk to some of my clients being like, it will be more beneficial for you to push back that start date for that team member and go on your IT person's timeline than it is to have someone start before things are ready for them.
Absolutely. And even more so, right? They are confirming what they believe about you. And right now, they believe the absolute best about you as a manager, about you as a part of an organization, about how much you care about them. And, no one wants to show up and feel like they're a burden. It boggles my mind because just financially, the amount of money someone spends to find somebody
Oh
you're
yeah.
you're interviewing person after person. You've spent all this time honing your job description, honing what they need to do. You can imagine how much better your life is going to be in 6 months to a year once this amazing person you found solves your problem. You're going to take the time to make sure they're set up for success. That's just a
Yeah.
waste of cash. It's
Yeah,
a
yeah,
waste
it's
of
such
your
a waste
energy
if
and
you're not going to take
effort.
it. Yeah. And I think like there's studies that show the more thorough your onboarding plan is, the more likely you are to retain that person. So many people are like, I can't retain people. People just come and go. And it's that impression, it's that first impression on day one that's going to have an impact and then continuing on through your entire onboarding. Because that's another thing that I find is so many people confuse onboarding with a day one orientation.
Yes, they are very much different things. So your day one orientation, yes, you probably, depending on the size of your organization, a little bit outsource it to your admin, to your HR, to, IT. Your manager is a big part of it. They're there to say hello. They're there to make sure things happen. But a lot of the day, depending on the size of your org, might be kind of run partially by somebody else. But onboarding is about learning the thing that they know are going to need to know how to do for you. And I think that that's also important to note. A lot of folks will find that, and I'm sure you've run into it. I want someone that already knows how to do this job. Great. Even if you find that person, which with today's market you might, they don't know how to do that job for you in
Yes.
your context, in for your customers or your, valued clients. And helping them understand your ethos, understand your why, understand your mission is just as important as helping a client understand your ethos, your why, and your mission. They are going to be an extension of your voice, an extension of your business. If you don't help them believe in it, want to buy it, want to sell it, want to talk to people about it, then you're missing out on a really great opportunity, not only for internal, but external um, advertising of how great what you offer is. And
Yeah.
you don't really set that person up for success. They sit there with all of their great skills going, but I can't access the folder. But I don't know why we do this thing. Well, I've seen it done someplace else, but why does it matter here?
Right.
Why would you
Yeah.
waste that time?
Yeah, I kind of look at it when everyone's like, well, I want someone that can just hit the ground running. And it's like, okay, well, they might know what they need to do in terms of having the skills to do it, but they don't know how to do it for you yet. So I always say, like, let's talk about bookkeeping. Bookkeeping is bookkeeping is bookkeeping. You know, it's the same thing with different sets of numbers and everything. There might be some complexities, just some things that make it a little bit more complicated depending on, different taxes on your products or things like that. But this
Mm-hmm.
general thing is bookkeeping is bookkeeping is bookkeeping. But they don't know how to do that yet for you. They don't
Mm-hmm.
know, let's say a part of their responsibility is not just categorizing transactions, it's creating the reports. Okay, when they deliver those reports, what cadence do you necessarily want to see them on? Because is it different
Mm-hmm.
than their last organization? When or how do you want to receive the information? Are you someone that knows enough where you can just receive the reports, know exactly are they good? Are they bad? Have things changed? Are they not? Or do you need them to tell you those things?
Mm-hmm.
What is that relationship? What is that dynamic? What do you expect of them? Because there's so many
Yeah.
things where it's like, I hear people all the time, they're like, my employee is not meeting my expectations. And I'm like, okay, well, what are your expectations? And when did you teach your employee these expectations? And so
Mm-hmm.
much I hear is they should just know. It's like,
Yep.
they don't just know.
Or even if you're, okay, maybe they just don't know, but even beyond, well, I showed them once. Once? You showed them it once. So tell me how many people in your life you can show something once and they can copy it forever. Think of children, partners, dogs, you name it. Showing
Yeah.
a thing once is not enough to teach it. And
Yeah,
it's
I was
so
gonna say,
important.
yeah, there's this I know my listeners have probably definitely heard this example many times, but I love it, love sharing it, is it's like watching a movie. You have a movie that you love. The first time you watched it, you loved it, so you watched it a second time. And the second time, nothing has changed. It's the exact same movie, but you're watching it, you're like, oh my gosh, I didn't notice that. Oh, now I see that connection. Oh, and you get this whole layer of information that you didn't get the first time, even though nothing's changed, and you
Hmm.
get it the second time around, and then you learn more the third time around, and possibly even the fourth. You dig deeper where you're seeing all these Easter eggs and everything throughout because your base level layer of knowledge has changed. So it's like the same with onboarding. It's like, yeah, telling them once doesn't always do it. They think they know, they think they got it, they think they absorbed it all, but chances are they didn't.
Hmm. And in that example, it's the context. And that's the thing that's so challenging in onboarding versus orientation. Orientation is about making it so that you're um, able to exist in an organization. Can you get paid? Do you have healthcare? Do you know where the washrooms are? Can you get on the email, right? Like, just where am I in the world? What slacks do I need to pay attention to? Which ones aren't important, right? Just how do I find my space? Quite literally, orient myself to the orientation, to the organization. Onboarding is about how do I lift off my career in this place, not in the place that I was. And that takes building new pathways of how do we send reports? What is important to call out in financial information? What are our values? How do we treat each other when things go wrong? How do we recognize when things go right? All of the social things you ever have had, if you and people do this every day, and I'm always surprised that they like don't recognize the parallel here. If you've ever signed up for like a meetup group or like a hangout area, you go to the first meeting and you're kind of awkward, most likely, standing on the edge, even if you're the most social person in the world, myself included, kind of trying to feel it out and see who's there. You go the second time and you kind of know a few people and you sort of get what's happening, but you don't actually fit in. You're just kind of like, yeah, I've come twice. By the third time, people recognize you. They say your name, you know the flow, you feel like you're a part of the thing. It's the same, but for your whole job. And
Yeah.
normally, jobs aren't simple. Give people the time to understand how they can use those skills, how they can be seen, and how they can grow with you just as much as you would do if you were inviting people over to have a book club.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think like another thing that's like super important that I was just coming to my mind with that is, as you talked about, like kind of getting oriented and onboarded into this job, this set of responsibilities is someone can do the exact same job, have the exact same title on paper. The responsibilities look the same, but things are different. It might be that, okay, with my old job, I did X, the system automatically triggered someone else to do Y. Okay, well, now at this job, we're not using automated tools like that. So I do X. I have to manually alert the person who needs to do Y. It might be in a third company. Oh, I do X. We don't have anybody to do Y. That's my responsibility too. And it's learning all those things. It's like someone in one company, let's say you're in sales and you have an assistant that's helping you keep all the database updated of who you talk to, when you talk to, all those things. And another company, you have to do it all yourself. And when is your
Mm-hmm.
boss going to get on you for not doing it? Do they expect it to be updated in real time? Expect it to be updated at the end of each day? Or is once a week good enough? Is once a month good enough before you're going to have that meeting with your boss? You know, it's learning what is my actual job here because it
Mm-hmm.
might be different than there, even though on paper it looks exactly the same.
Mm-hmm. And it's important, I think, too. I think we've kind of talked around a little bit, but also important to recognize that's emotional, right? Like that's emotional for the new employee. That's emotional for the manager. Both of them come in with sky high expectations of this working out. The manager, to your point, expects someone to hit the ground running and recognize their every whim. And the employee is expecting to find a place to belong. To be frank, as you well know, nobody's out here loving searching for jobs. Someone's like, man,
Right.
I love to apply for jobs. That's such a good time. Like nobody's jassy about that. So like they are hoping to find a place that they can stay for a while, that they can grow for a while. Both of them are going to come in with these expectations and they're going to be mismatched if you don't take the time to recognize that that new employee has to now realize that all of a sudden, even if the job is exactly Xerox copy the same, they have to learn again. It's new. And they're going to feel kind of left footed or right footed, depending on your orientation, I suppose, for a while. And that's
Yeah.
going to make them feel less smart, less competent, less engaged, less included. And that manager is going to have to recognize, right, as most managers do, I started the hiring process 6 months after I needed somebody in the seat. I'm going to need to wait another several months before this person's really in the seat and able to execute. And that's a bit of a disappointment for them too. If both parties come to this onboarding experience with the right level of expectations and helping each other build that competence and confidence in each other, then you can have an amazing career. That for a lot of managers is the last thing on their mind once they sign that, get that offer letter signed and someone's approved through background. It should be the first thing on their mind when they build the job description. What little projects are going to help this person get up to speed and help me solve a actual problem as we bring them on and help them get better and better at doing the work that I know that they're capable of doing.
Right. Oh my gosh, Grace, I love that you said that because that's exactly where I wanted to go next. Because as you talked about with onboarding plans and something like that, it's what you do in those first 6 to 9 months, possibly even a year, that makes someone feel welcome, that makes them feel really, really valued in the organization, that they understand their role. And if you look at a lot of research and stuff on good onboarding, it can say it's a year-long process, sometimes even more. Like that's the onboarding time. And then I work with small businesses that they're like, I can't be training someone for a year and all this stuff. And it's like a lot of times we equate onboarding with hands-on full days worth of training. And it's not. Like there's things in that later part of onboarding that still, let's make sure you fully understand. Let's make sure we're bringing you into the organization. For larger organizations that have many levels of complexity and many different departments, it's like, let's make sure you understand the whole, not just your little part. So for a smaller business, that onboarding thing is going to be a little bit smaller than in a massive organization, but it's still lengthy. And part of that lengthiness is that retraining, that helping people get better. It's making people feel comfortable, but it's not all just training. It's helping them do projects that are going to accelerate their learning. It's making them feel like, okay, I got this, I'm doing things. And sometimes for, especially the business owners I work with that are small business owners that are learning to let go, because this is the first time they've had this role in their organization, it's that process of getting you out of it and them into it. So it's not throwing them into the fire day one to say, figure it out, do it, you're on your own now. It's that whole process of what I taught you A. Now, what can you do because I taught you A? All right, now tomorrow I'm going to teach you B because it's going to be too overwhelming for me to teach you A and B on the same day. Okay, now that I taught you B, what can you do? Okay, I can't teach you C yet because you really need to perfect A and B, but what's something else that maybe isn't going to be a normal part of your job, but I can give you as a project to hands-on to help you learn about things, so that way you're more ready and you can learn C because you need this bank of knowledge before I teach you C.
Absolutely. And especially for the small business owner, you've got a billion things in your head at every minute, right? You wanted to redo your filing and migrate to Google and update your website and change your social and talk to that client and redo your decks and this, and this. One of the really great ways that you can both solve problems and give an opportunity for someone to really shine and feel like they're contributing and feel like they have a stake in your organization is give them that small piece or one part of a project. Let them do the first draft of the new social post you have. Ask them to look at the file structure and understand where things are and see how they would make it better. Ask them to take a swing through building their first presentation or looking at your first financial report and helping set that up so that it's not necessarily removing all of your control, but you've given them a piece to try in a safe space to get better. A little bit like swimming. You don't chuck your small child into the deep end of the pool and go, best of luck, bud. Hope you can work it out. You hold them in the shallow and you let them float a little bit and then you hold them again and then you let them float a little bit and you hold them again. And soon they're frankly swimming around like little fish.
Right? They're like, look, mom, look what I can do. And they're
Look
off.
what I
Like,
can do. And they're off. And when they start to go off, give them a little runway, but always run along them like someone pushing a bike. Hey, you're doing that? That's so great. Let me give you a little bit of context because now you're ready for it. Let me give you a little bit more because now you understand. And because of those moments, then they get stronger and stronger and stronger. If you just let your toddler swim across the pool, they're going to get way too far out in the deep end and then freak out. And then it's the worst thing ever. And then you're freaking out and they're freaking out and we're calling the cops and it's just worst day at the Chicago public pool. You really want to be still there with them so that they know, hey, this is how you move down a lane. This is where we're heading. This is why we're heading that way, right?
yeah.
Synchronized swimming needs is different than lap swimming needs. And that's the same with your business. They might have been the best lap swimmer there ever was, but you guys do tricks. How are you going to help that person understand how you all move together?
Right. Yes. Yes. I love that. And it's about you letting go as much as them taking the reins and running with it. And I think it's also important to let go and give them these small things and let them kind of, kind of that sink or swim type thing on their own while you're there being able to help them, and you're there to jump in and tell them those little things. Okay, that's great. You attempted that. Here's what you did well. Here's what didn't go well, and here's why what didn't go well matters. And that's one of the things I think is a lot of times we're just like, oh, they didn't do it. They didn't do it. Okay, going back to the swimming thing. Just because you show a kid how to swim doesn't mean they're going to know how to swim. They're going to attempt, and we're going to help them learn the difference between what they did and what they're supposed to be doing. And it's the same within your onboarding. It's like, we got to help close that gap. We got to say, yes, you did this. Okay, this part wasn't exactly what I meant. And sometimes that is, we interpret things differently. So they interpreted what we said in a different way than what we meant by those exact same words. And we help them see the difference. We help them see the why that difference is important at times, because it could be they're just used to doing something once again because their old boss liked it that way.
Yep.
We do things differently because our clients have different expectations of us. We set different promises. We maybe are in a different industry and we have different regulatory things that we need to follow. And like all these things is like helping them see, why is this important? How is this going to help improve? And things like that. So then it's that little and little. Because I know one of the questions I always get is, and I would like to get your advice on what you tell people this, what is the difference between someone who is just not doing it right yet, but has the ability, versus someone that is showing you that they are never going to get it and you need to cut your loss before you go any deeper into this training?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Very, very important. And I was going to touch on that, and also touch on a way to help mitigate that. So
Yes.
One of the ways that you help that managers can decide whether it's time to cut bait and they get it or they have not, like whatever I got on that resume, whatever person I met is totally wrong, is clarity and explicitness. So what you will find is that most managers are like, so do this thing, and then they'll leave. And you have a huge curse of knowledge as a founder or as a leader in a small business, because you know all of those things. You know why you bought the file system that you bought 17 years ago, because so and so really liked it because they knew somebody at the company that did the thing. This person has none of those that pieces of context. So you need to be really explicit with them about like why you did that thing, but also be more detailed in your instructions than you think you need to be. And by that, I don't mean like put a period at the end of the sentence. I mean, I like my presentations in PowerPoints. I want you to make sure that each deck has an agenda, has a core slide with what the points are, and references data that I'm linking to you here. Now, 6 months down the line, I'm going to go, hey, I need a deck. And that's all I'm going to say, because you should know all of the other things, because I was really explicit at the front end. It is more explicit closer to day one and increasingly less explicit as you go along. And the way that you can tell if someone's picking it up is if you've given it to them clearly and you've shown them what you're asking for super explicitly in a really like a average person with this kind of skills should be able to pick this up and do it in the way that I want because I've shown them what I'm actually looking for. And they still have it on month 3 or week 6 or whatever your mental time span is, especially considering your old employees. That's your sign.
Yeah.
Hey, I gave you the thing. I gave it to you explicitly. I've seen other people at my organization pick this up and do it. I know I taught somebody else because it's not just me, solo entrepreneur 1. Maybe it's my team of now 2, and I was able to figure it out. Assume that the adult that you've hired is a reasonably intelligent human who has the skills that you need. If they really don't have those skills, you'll see it just is taking so much longer for them to be able to move forward. You can also ask them to show their work. And that's always my like extra check. First, did you follow my instructions? Second, show me how you did it. And if you have given them the instructions and you've given them an example and you watch them do it, and it is like Oh, wow. Mm, that's your flag.
Yeah.
Like if the kid in the pool turns around and runs towards the playground to show you how to swim on a swing set, sign. Like you put them in the pool. You showed them how to swim. You were there to help them get there, and their way of demonstrating those skills was to get out and get on land. They're telling you that this is not the right fit.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I like that. And it's like, and I feel like that as we start off, like you have to be clear in what you want. To be upset that someone didn't include an agenda on that first PowerPoint they created for you when you never told them that it was a requirement is kind of silly to be upset over that. Like you didn't tell them the expectation. Maybe that first one that they create for you, the agenda is just maybe either too complex
Mm-hmm.
or too simple. And you're like,
Yeah.
okay, yes, you created an agenda, but here is what I'm looking for in an agenda. We're not looking for you to put every detail, just the general things, things like that, where it's like, let's make it better. Let's make it more in line with what we're looking for. Okay. Yeah. Fifth presentation they're putting together for you, they're still not including an agenda, even though you've been telling them to, then you got your problem that they're not grasping that. It's not that they're doing it and getting better, but they're just not there yet. It's that they're still not doing it because they're not comprehending that this is important, that
Mm-hmm.
the words you're saying matter. And in some
Yes.
cases it could be that they just don't have the capacity to learn that skill.
Mm-hmm. And it does happen, like you can talk to someone who is the most personable, who you just enjoy, who you're thrilled to have. And once you get under the hood, they can't do that thing. There's no amount of chat GPT, Googling, and YouTube video watching that will help them do that thing.
Yeah.
And once you find that, you need to be explicit with them. And that's the manager's job. That's the leader's job. You have to communicate with them in a way for them to understand this is my expectation and you're missing it. I think a lot of folks, when they have new hires, especially in that onboarding phase, especially after that first 2 months, still feel like, oh, but what if they don't like me? Nope. We're at, can you do your job? This is
Yeah.
an investment. You need to be clear. Here's what I expect. Here's where you're missing.
Yeah.
This is the gap I'm going to need you to fill. And then go, what do you need to fill it? Because I've given you instructions. I've shown you examples. We've sat together here, there, and everywhere. I've had you talk to this person. You've got someone to call, and yet my expectations here, and I still have some airtime between what you've delivered and what I'm expecting. How do I close it? And if they can't come up with anything and they can't see it, they know that they aren't able to make what you need. And it's not a surprise by the time you get to the point, if it does come to that, that this isn't working out
Yeah.
because you will
Yeah.
have told them in a million different ways, hey, here's where you are, and this is what I need at a higher level. And I'm still not getting there. And they're not making the incremental progress to get you there. The worst thing in both performance, onboarding, and really any sort of conversation about someone missing is for them to come in and be surprised that you didn't like it because you weren't um, strong enough in your convictions to tell them. And that's the leadership's role. And even for your top performers, tell them when they're doing well. Hey, you
Right.
are getting there. Yes, this is exactly what I'm looking for. Okay, you're so close. Just this little thing. Every single time they get that little bit of praise, they will do better and better and better. Don't be afraid of a high five. Don't be afraid of some recognition for solving a problem, even if it's a small one that's been dogging your whole team for ages. Something as simple as cleaning up your org chart so that they know where everybody is a huge lift and helpful for your organization. Let them do stuff like that so that they can contribute and get recognized by their peers.
Yes. And I love that you just mentioned high performers and everything. And I feel like this is a really strong point to talk about. You said like giving those high fives, like giving those kudos, pointing stuff out. And high performers sometimes naturally are in that high performance state. So they don't always realize what they're doing that's above and beyond. So sometimes they need things to be pointed out. I remember a high performer that reported to me years ago. She was having a really hard time filling out her review of herself for her performance review because she's like, I didn't do anything in this area. Like they were supposed to be innovative and all this stuff. And she was like, I didn't do anything. And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like you did X, Y, Z. I'm like, here's a whole list of things that you did in this area. And her response was, but that's my job. Like those are just things I did on a daily basis because why wouldn't you do those? You see something out of whack. Why aren't you bringing that conversation to the table? And I'm just like,
Mhm.
it's natural for you, but one, that's not an expectation in this role that you're bringing all that stuff to the table. And two, not everyone does it. Like those are
No,
things that you noticed, you spoke up, change was made, and that change had a positive impact. But she didn't notice that she was making that impact because for her, it was so natural to do that. So make sure you
exactly.
are giving those kudos to that high performer.
And make sure, to your point, this is the other thing that I think I glossed over. Onboarding, glossed over. Can't you read my whim? One thing is carve out as a manager, as a leader, as a team lead, time to look back. 30
Yeah.
days, 60 days, 90 days, 6 months, a year. Put it on your calendar when the person starts.
Yes.
Reason you do that is because it's easy for everyone to do that. Oh, let's just show your job. Oh, whatever, just do it. Of course, this other thing, you'll find that you can get all the way through a whole year's worth of onboarding and not have recognized your employee at all for doing an amazing job. And then they're feeling not appreciated, not welcomed, thrown to the deep end. No one cares about their career and they've had to figure it out all on their own. And you're sitting there at end of year or mid year or quarterly performance and they're hot as all get out. And you're like, why are you so mad? You do it so great. And they're like, no one's
Am
ever
I?
told me.
Yeah.
I'm sitting here in silence. I have no idea why I'm here. Right. Like,
Yeah, especially if your new team member is one of those people that's like they're words of affirmation people, like yeah, that they like hearing that. They like hearing that they're doing a good job and that's their motivator and stuff. With tying to that, like one of the things that we always do for our clients is when we're helping them create onboarding plans, we create 90-day goals. And a lot of it ties back to that training plan that we put together because we um working with a lot of small business owners, they are overwhelmed with the onboarding process or the thought of the onboarding
mm-hmm.
process because they don't have a huge team yet. Sometimes it's just
Yep.
them. So that means everything that has to be trained, they're doing the training. They're
Mm-hmm.
leading the training. They're doing all that stuff. And they're like, I still have to work with my clients. I still need to make revenue. I still need to do all this stuff. Like none of the work went away. I was hiring because I was already overwhelmed. And so we create a plan that's like, okay, this is the time you have to carve out. It's not 40 hours in a 40-hour work week that you're training
Mm-hmm.
because we add in those projects, we do all those things. And so then we create these goals to say, okay, if this was all you trained on in the first 30 days, means the person doesn't maybe know everything about their job yet. So we can't hold them responsible for all of their responsibilities
Mm-hmm.
yet. What do we want to look at to say that they should be doing by the end of those first 30 days? Or what side projects should they have accomplished and finished by that? And so we create that for the first 30 days. We create it for the first 60 days, then the first 90 days. And sometimes we build in there kind of like, as I like to say, the teaching of riding a bike, like the training
Mm-hmm.
wheels, then holding on, then running beside them. Now they're on their own. It's like, okay, they should be able to do this with alongside you. They should be able to
Yes.
do this in the next 30 days with the occasional review. Okay, by the end of 90 days, they're doing it independently.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons why we put that together for our clients, it one holds our clients responsible for what they need to train on. We can't hold someone accountable if we don't train them on it. And two, it actually sets realistic expectations. So that if they look back and saying, well, this person's not independent at the end of the first 30 days, well, guess what? They're not supposed to be independent at the end of the first 30 days. And
Mm-hmm.
also because they present that to their new team member, it helps that new team member realize what they should be accountable for. So it's not
oh, I'm not doing my job or I'm behind because I'm not independent after the first 30 days. This was the plan before I even started on day one for me not to be
Exactly.
independent until 90 days or whatever it was. So it just helps to set that roadmap and help set those clear expectations for both sides of when
Mm-hmm.
people should be doing what and held accountable for each thing. You
Mm-hmm.
also mentioned, Grace, like the other thing I want to like circle back to is sometimes we're afraid to tell people that harsh feedback where we hold ourselves back, and that's actually one of the things that studies have shown that women have a hard time delegating because of the fact that they're afraid that they're going to be seen as assertive, aggressive, forceful by asking people to do things and setting the
Mm-hmm.
expectations. And there is a way that you can be that forceful, pushy, aggressive person when you're setting expectations and delivering feedback, because you're doing it from that place of you're wrong, you're not going to be able to get it. But then there's
Mm-hmm.
also that leadership side of it. And we really need to focus on being that leader and helping people see from that thing of you're doing great. I want to help you do better
Yes.
capacity.
Clarity is kindness. It really is.
Yes.
If you are not clear with people, then you're expecting them to guess. Imagine someone that you care deeply in your life. They're very upset with you and they will not tell you. And you're dancing and you're dancing around and you're dancing around and you're dancing around. It feels awful. It feels awful all the time. You care so much about them and they just won't share. It's the source of a couple fight in this world, right? Just tell me, why are you mad? You seem not pleased. Even just your body language can communicate far more than you realize. That person knows you're not happy and you haven't been clear with them about how to fix it. How can you possibly expect them to still be engaged and excited about working for you if they're walking on eggshells because they're not sure if you're going to be slamming pots in the kitchenette? Tell them what
Right.
they need to know so that they can either improve or find that this isn't the place for them, but be clear. This is what I need. Here is the example. This is how you do it. Now go. Then it is their choice. It is, there's a HBR article about kind of giving people the opportunity to kind of solve their own challenges. Give them that monkey back. So, hey, it's not my fault that you don't understand. I've given you all the pieces. How do you want to move forward? And let them have a chance to make a clear decision with all of the information rather than sparing feelings that don't help them improve and doesn't
Right.
help you and they already know you're mad about whether you said anything or not.
Yeah.
They could
Yeah.
tell.
It's one of those things. It doesn't matter how great your recruiting process is. Occasionally you're going to get someone in who, once they're doing the work, it's just not the right fit. And as you mentioned, people are excited when they come on. People want to do well. They want to be in some place where they can succeed. No one wants to be told every day that they're doing something wrong. But when you have those clear and honest conversations, sometimes you guys can look at that situation together and realize, oh, this really isn't the right fit. And when that person leaves because they recognize themselves that it's not the right fit and they have the opportunity to go and find something that is going to light them up, that they can excel at, it changes the whole dynamic of that exit. So they're not being
Exactly.
fired because they're not working out because you hate them or they can't do anything right. It's that recognition of this isn't right for both sides. And why are we fighting against each other instead of each going on our own path that's going to make us each happy?
Nobody enjoys it's not you, it's me. All right. Like, let's just both recognize that we've changed and that what I thought I wanted and what actually wasn't it. It is a far more not only respectful way to treat people, but also fiscally responsible. How many folks do you know that you, even today, for some folks, still have on their team, dragging them along and they hate it? They hate it every day and they
Yeah.
drag you down in your team meetings and they drag you down in your client meetings and you can tell they hate it and it's inertia. Don't create a team that's fine with inertia, that's fine with not actually caring. It's no
Yeah.
way to run any size business. particularly a small business where you really all have to be rowing in the same direction in order to achieve big goals.
Exactly. Exactly. I remember once someone being upset because one of their team members turned in their notice. And I'm just like, wait, but that's a team member you've been having trouble with for months and trying to get them to improve their behavior, trying to, like, they were on a performance improvement plan at one point in time and like all this stuff. And I'm just like, they made the decision to leave after they recognized that this wasn't a fit for them. Like, why are we upset that they're leaving? Like, let's focus on having the right people and not just like a retention number that's going to make HR and executive leadership that has nothing to do with the day to day with that person. Like we don't care what they think about those numbers. We care about what's actually going on.
Sometimes it's 72 hours of pain and months worth of weight not in your brain. That person, I'm sure, went home every night. What are we going to do about? I'm sorry. What are we going to do about Jamie? Good goodness. Jamie again. Well, I don't know if Jamie's going to turn it in this month, but I'll have to talk to her. Well, I got to have another meeting with Jamie. Well, I got to sit down and go over this again with Jamie. Think of how many things that person could have accomplished without that
Without
weight
worrying about
dragging
Jamie.
it, without worrying about Jamie every single day, right?
Yeah.
There comes a point in a leader's experience with an employee and in an employee's experience with a leader where their lives will be materially better without each other. And they should both know that. And generally they do. They just don't want to have that uncomfortable conversation. It is better to have it and be clear about it than to drag it out because it costs time, and time even more than money. You cannot get back. And
Yeah.
all of that energy and effort, it could have been spent finding the right person that would have lit up every day. And you're like, oh my gosh, I'm so glad you're here when I come into my office, or I'm so glad you're online when I
Exactly.
I didn't even tell you, but you had the thing. This is the best thing ever.
Yeah.
That is how both parties should feel, that they're learning, that they're growing, and they're doing things. Now, I'll be absolutely frank. I'm not out here dreaming of labor, but like if you got a trust fund in an island, please feel free to call me. I'll take it. But even then, humans like to do great work. They like to be valued to do great things. They like to learn. They like to contribute. When people are left to their own devices, they will make up things to do. So make sure the thing that you're doing is something that you can look back on and go, well, maybe it's not the trust fund and island, but man, that's some good stuff right there. I feel good
Yeah.
about the thing that I contributed to the world today, even if it's as simple as making a cup of coffee or sending out a great email or saying thank you to a new hire who's growing and really growing your team. So
Yeah. And I think it's like one of those things, like when we talk about they want to do like great things and like all that stuff. And some people are like, but we see the impact that our companies are making, but they're not like some of us, it's not like we're running the nonprofits that are changing lives day in and day out. And that doesn't need to be the case. I worked for a company back in corporate that I loved. I loved it. And I felt like I accomplished stuff every day. And it was really hard to leave that company to start my own business when I made the decision, but I needed to follow my own goals. But that company was making coupons. I am not passionate about coupons. I could care less about coupons. Yeah. Unless one falls in my hand and it's a great deal, I'm not going to go hunting for coupons. So the fact that we were creating coupons, I didn't care, but it was the way the company internally made me feel. It was how I felt accomplished at my job. It was being recognized when I did go above and beyond. It was given opportunities to grow my skills. So at the end of the day, feeling like you're making a difference or that company is making a difference on you, it doesn't always matter what the end product is. Now let's make sure our end products are ethical and stuff like that. Yeah,
yes.
we're not cheating people, those end users, but at the end of the day, it's that culture and everything internally of how you treat your employees that really matters to them.
Yeah. And as is often said, you spend more than, for some folks, 80% of their life at work. You spend more time with the people that you work with than the people that you literally choose to love and stay with for your life. Even the people that you bring into the world, you spend more time with your work folks.
Right.
You should create an environment that's at least as rewarding and as exciting. It's not going to be fully, but should be at least rewarding if you're going to be away from those folks, right?
Exactly.
can't say it enough. One of the big things that I say often when it comes to the work that I do at Zeigler Consulting is work shouldn't suck. You spend too much time at it and it shouldn't suck. It's not going to be sunshine and rainbows all the time, but it shouldn't be, I'm so sad to go in at all times. I wish I didn't have to every single day. You could love a job and occasionally have a day you don't like, but when that pendulum switches to more days you don't like than days that you do, you should do the reflection to find the place that really is going to see your talents and give you an opportunity to do great things.
Exactly. All right, Grace, on that note, we have to wrap things up because as I knew going into this conversation, we could just talk for hours and hours and hours. And we only talked about like a little subset of onboarding. So
I got so many thoughts.
Before this becomes like a 48-hour podcast episode, we're going to go and wrap things up for the day. So Grace, tell everybody how they can get in touch with you.
Absolutely. I am on LinkedIn. I don't have a website as of today. It's a solo entrepreneurship, but I do have a main page and a couple of case studies I'd love to share with you. Find me underneath Zeigler Consulting on LinkedIn. I got a page there. And just Grace Zeigler, ZEI. On LinkedIn. I'd be happy to connect with folks that are considering fractional and considering how to incorporate fractional into their day-to-day full-time. So definitely hit me up.
Yes. And of course, the links to that will be in the show notes, the full show notes that you'll find over at growingyourteam.com for this episode. And my final question that I love to ask all my guests, we've all had leaders or managers that have stood out to us. Think of a leader or a manager that has stood out to you and share one thing about them.
Absolutely. I'd have to share one of my bosses early on from my corporate career after my grad program. She was absolutely opposite to me. I mean, as you can probably tell, I'm a little extroverted, pretty loud, love to chat, love to move my hands and do all of that. Poker face, solid, loves data, wants to look at spreadsheets, deadpan in delivery. And man, I learned so much from her about how to be not only a servant leader, how to tell a story about people that matters to a business, and how to make sure that you check the insides on any survey reports or sentiment reports you ever get, because percentages lie. And those sorts of things have stood the test of my career. They've helped me question smarter. They've helped me ask more information. They've helped me push on numbers that people try to claim are rock solid. And they've helped me subsume sometimes my first off the cuff to make sure that I heard what I actually heard before I make that leap. And I cannot thank her enough for that kind of work and that effort.
Wow. Yes. Thank you so much, Grace, for sharing that. She sounds like an amazing leader to report to and learn from.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Thank you so much, Grace, for joining us today on the Growing Your Team podcast.
Are you ready to hire a new team member for your business and you want to ensure you hire the person who can succeed in the role, make you happy, and positively impact your bottom line? Then let's talk and see how growing your team can help you master the art of hiring. Through bespoke hiring frameworks and comprehensive guidance, you will learn how to attract candidates who have the passion you desire and the skills needed to succeed. At Growing Your Team, women entrepreneurs and leaders work with us to help them expand their unique businesses by teaching them how to hire like a pro. Let's connect and see how we can help you. Send me an email at jamie@growingyourteam.com. That's Jamie, JAMIE @growingyourteam.com, or head on over to growingyourteam.com/jumpstart, with jumpstart being all one word, and let's talk about how you can become a confident leader who hires right every single time.